Rice to meet you. A story of a political ascent and failed assassination. Hosted by Malika,
Hudson,
Lucia.
It's July 8th, 1853. Your back is aching, sores on your feet, the sandals you were given years ago fraying with each step. You are a young samurai, here in the capital to complete your sword studies.
But with your belongings swung over your back, you are too in awe of the hurried, blurry crowds of Edo Bay to really notice.
You've been assigned to guard the coast, and that's when you use the opportunity to take in the sight of the great shore. But in the distance, there's something. A behemoth of spewing, grainy steam, unlike anything you've seen in your life.
hello citizens and slaves, I presume. I'm Commodore Matthew Perry, and I'm here to free you of your seclusion. I also have a message for you, and I hope it can be the start of a beautiful relationship.
You just barely see a man on board, yet his crystal blue eyes still pierce yours. Little did you know that the first thing they take is the rice.
PBO Pathway presents Conflict Season 4, Revolutions, where we examine the conditions that led to the revolutions and analyze the cause and effects of the revolutions.
While Shakespeare was writing Sonnet 18, Japan was under political reconstruction. Following a century-long civil war, the country with its many warring domains was finally unified under the rule of Tokugawa Ieyasu.
The Tokugawa family ruled this feudal land with a vice grip, closing trade with all but the Dutch, and sentencing the peasantry to nothing but back-breaking work. Rice, rice, and rice. Rice makes Japan go round.
It's peaceful, but that peace is put into question by Perry, Matthew Perry.
All I'm asking you to do is sign diplomatic and commercial treaties, and that there will be consequences if you don't. I hope you understand.
And he made sure they understood. He ordered some of his ships to turn towards the town of Uraga as he proclaimed,
Here's a white flag and a letter from our great president. We hope to hear back from you within the year, and if you fight back.
A boom echoed through the port of Edo as several warning shots crashed into several buildings.
They then realized the power the Americans had over them. This caused panic throughout Edo, Uraga, and all the domains of Japan. It was clear that if they didn't accept modernization and positive Western relations, they'd become the West's puppets.
Wait, so why were the Americans so aggressive with the Japanese in their first contact?
This was mostly to show the power they had over the Japanese. Because of Japan's years of isolation, their technological development was behind by almost centuries. At the time, the government was led by the Tokugawa shogunate, which was helmed by Ieyasu's descendant, Yoshinobu, who had not prepared the nation for this, or what was to come. He was weak.
The shogun ended up signing an unfair treaty with the Americans, further angering a nation with an already rumbling stomach. Rice was what they used to back up their currency and pay their subjects with, and it was going through heavy inflation.
Okay, so if I understand this correctly, they used rice as their currency.
Yeah, that's correct.
So why was it going through such a heavy inflation?
This was happening because when America introduced European currency into Japan, it caused an imbalance between the two currencies. This led to inflation in the rice market, and because of this, Japan was very hungry and angry, and there came lots of unrest, and many samurai declared,
Revere the Emperor! Expel the barbarians!
Terrorism began to spring up assassinations. Police were sent out to stop the anti-shogunate rebellions. Yet, still, chaos and disorder. The once peaceful Japan was thrown into tumult.
To add to the cacophony, a century-long rivalry had blood spill. The Satsuma and Choshu domains had hated each other for longer than anyone could remember, yet both had sympathies for the emperor and were both contributing to the anti-shogunate terrorism. With all that was going on, a young samurai by the name of Ryoma Sakamoto decided that something had to be done. He would assassinate a high-ranking government official by the name of Katsu Keishu.
He unsheathed his sword, raising it above his head to deal with the killing blow, while Katsua knelt, unfazed. Before Ryoma could strike him down, Kachua said,
If you don't like what I have to say, you should kill me.
Ryoma dropped his sword. Kashua had told him something that would change the future of Japan forever, as well as his ideals. So he grabbed a pair of leather American boots and went to the Satsuma domain.
As Kaishi explained, Japan needed a restoration of ideas.
To be gone with caste and for all to judge by their merit, as done in the US, a country Sakamoto began to admire.
By combining the might of these two powerful clans, they may have a chance to overthrow the anachronistic shogunate.
Pause here for a moment. It's important to address that there are numerous causes for revolution, which can be condensed into 10 factors.
Not all revolutions fulfilled them, and the Meiji Restoration was caused by mainly 3 conditions.
The major ones being people from all social classes are unhappy.
People feel restless and held down by restrictions.
And finally, the government does not respond to the needs of its society.
So when Sakamoto sat down with these two rival clans as a mediator, he had an easy way to convince the two clans to join.
You see, the Choshu had a rice shortage because of the recent inflation.
And it just so happened that the Satsuma had not suffered as much and therefore had rice stored away.
The Choshu had swords.
The Satsuma needed swords.
With the threat of common enemies and a trade deal underway, Sakamoto was able to convince them to join together against the shogunate.
Everything was heating up and encroaching towards a fever pitch.
The Bakufu, the shogunate army, employed police to temper the growing outcry.
Yet the shout intensified.
Revere the emperor! Expel the barbarians!
The shogun, Yoshinobu, saw that his failure had led to disassembling of peace that his family had fought to make true.
And so he abdicated and resigned his governmental power to the emperor, Emperor Meiji.
It took some time to firmly mount Meiji in charge, what with attempts from Yoshinobu to hold on to political power.
But once his efforts were completely extinguished, a new government was erected.
Gone with the old name of the era, which was known as the Tokugawa period.
In this modern court, the new Japanese constitution stated clearly that
Japanese subjects may, according to qualifications determined in laws or ordinances, be appointed to civil or military or any other public offenses equally.
What ended up happening to the young samurai, to Sakamoto?
Well, he was the one who petitioned for such democratic policy for Japan.
And to think, it was all because of some rice.